Indian Motorcycle bestaat dit jaar 125 jaar. En dat moet natuurlijk gevierd worden. Met onder andere deze nieuwe Chief Vintage. En daar hebben ze toch wel een kunstwerkje van gemaakt. Hè? Als je de stijl nu mooi vindt of niet, het is wel een heel bijzondere machine. Zo zie je ze niet rijden. En er is eigenlijk geen enkele concurrent die zo'n type van model maakt deze tijd. Ondanks zijn zeer klassieke looks van de jaren 40 is hij onderhuids wel best modern. Hij staat natuurlijk op het Chief-platform, dus de Thunderstroke V-twin die kennen we al. Heeft 156 Nm koppel, pk's doet er helemaal niet toe. Hij heeft het Ride Command dat dit jaar vernieuwd is. Ziet er nog steeds hetzelfde uit, maar vooral onderhuids, vooral de hardware is eigenlijk beter geworden, waardoor het vooral sneller opstart en waardoor het ook sneller reageert. Dat blijft een fascinerend en een heel interessant systeem. Alles op een klein LED-schermpje en het gaat supergoed, zelfs het touchscreen met de handschoenen. Wat zien we voor de rest? Ja, heel veel details natuurlijk. We hebben van voor een verlichte indianenkop, we hebben een solozadel, we hebben die grote spatborden die helemaal doorlopen. Dat zijn super interessante dingen. Over het design gaan we het straks nog veel meer hebben met een speciale gast voor deze video. We zijn hier in Benidorm, we hebben hier gereden over prachtige bergwegen. Misschien niet het meest ideale voor de Chief Vintage, want ja, dit is meer echt een cruiserbike waar je niet te veel bochten mee moet nemen. Maar het kan best. Hij is er niet helemaal voor gemaakt, je zit natuurlijk snel met je brede treeplanken op de grond. Maar ja, het ging prima. Zolang het niet te technisch wordt en de bochten niet te krap worden, was het eigenlijk best goed te doen. Maar goed, wat dus veel belangrijker is het uiterlijk van deze motor. En daarom hebben we deze speciale gast, de design director van Indian Motorcycle, Ola Stenegärd. Ola, please join me here on stage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you, man.
Thank you for being here. So please, Ola, tell me a bit more about this bike. Can you give me 3 specific things that are interesting about the
Three
bike?
specific things. I think the first thing that is, of course, the most iconic about this bike, the fenders, the skirted fenders. And what's cool about them is they're actually one-piece stampings. The ones we had before and the previous ones, then you had the main piece and you had 2 skirts welded to the main piece. But it's always a bit tricky with tolerances and you got to do the welding and it's tough. You have to spend a lot of time to get the quality right. So the engineers and us in the design department, we thought maybe there's a better way to fix this. And the engineers worked really hard and they were pretty early quite convinced I think we can make a one-piece stamping. And to make such a deep draw today is actually really complicated. But we figured it out and we made it.
Okay, nice.
So deep draw, real steel fenders, and it's quite a feature.
They look really
bike.
nice. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so what else is interesting about the bike?
Well, the second thing that really makes this bike unique is of course the seat. And we struggled quite a bit with the seat during the testing and we kept adding foam and we based it on a seat we had before for the Scout, but that was a smaller, tighter seat because the Scout is of course a smaller bike. But here we felt we had to nail it. We got to have a proper floating seat that fits the bike, fits the size of the Chief. It's a bigger bike and it's really got to stay true to that original old vintage Chief seat. But we struggled. We couldn't really hit the comfort zone. Of course, style is super important, but you got to be able to ride it. And what we did was actually we went all the way back and we looked at the original messenger seat from the 30s. And we actually bought a replica and we mounted it rigid on the bike and we started test riding it. And it turned out they're actually really good. Those seats were done for bikes with rigid frames, super shitty roads, and they had solved something in a really good way, obviously. So we went back to that and we used that as a base for this seat. And I mean, butts haven't changed that much in 100 years, but the construction is really interesting. It's an aluminum frame and you have a pan in the middle and a foam. So it gives a little bit of flex. It's not sprung. It's like the frame is mounted rigid, but all in all, it's actually a really comfortable solution. And we got a lot of good feedback. I mean, you rode it today, right?
Yeah. I'm quite tall. I'm 1 meter 90, so actually my riding position is quite good. My knee makes nice, 90 degrees, and with the long steering handles, it's very comfortable actually. Yeah.
And I mean, we rode, an hour each loop, right? An hour and a half, and you never get tired on it. So it kind of really went way above what we were hoping for from the beginning. Yeah. So we're super happy with that. And it fits the style. It's a super unique style for this bike.
Really nice. Okay, so one last detail. What else do you implement on the bike?
There's a lot of cool stuff on the bike. Handlebars goes without saying. Really that soft sweep, and you mentioned ergonomics. It really fits like what you would imagine a Fordist Chief is. But then when we zoom in on the details, of course, the headrest, the lit up headrest, and actually that we dialed it back. We didn't want to start out with all the bells and whistles and chrome and that style, because the original Chiefs actually didn't have a lot of chrome. They were Indian red and mostly black. So we wanted to dial it back and almost tone it down a bit, bring it back to the core, because the bike in itself is just so beautiful, and you don't need a lot of bells and whistles to make it shine.
Yeah, because do you know where it comes from? Like the solo seat and the big fenders, is it like a functional thing, or is it purely a design-wise thing?
I don't know the stories. I would love to learn from someone that knows. But if you look at design history in general, it really fits the style of its time. You had Art Deco, you had Streamline. Those were the big influences back in the days. You have the super cool trains from Raymond Loewy. You have the cars, especially after the war, when they started to experiment with these beautiful streamlined shapes. And when I look at this, of course, I see a lot of influence from that era. So I can imagine that's what inspired this bike. But what's also fascinating for me when I look at the old bikes, the stands, they sit so well and they're well proportioned. And I spoke before about some vehicles, products, they are designed, they are modern, and then they become unmodern, and eventually they kind of spring back to fashion as retro. To me, the Chiefs never did that. It skipped that step and it just became a classic. And that's really hard to do. And now when we took the vintage from the touring bike platform, which it was built on before, back to the smaller Chief platform, we felt like this is what it should be. It should be a smaller, tighter bike. Of course, it's made for today. So it's got to fit the traffic and the people. But we really feel like now it's back to what it should be. Yeah. This is the core of the bike.
And last question, if you didn't have to take care of all the regulations and everything, if you had like a page blank, what would have you done to the design?
I think there's two things. We would love to have a dash on the tank. That would be super cool. This is not a bad setup. The other thing where our hands are just tied because it's so expensive. Most people don't realize how incredibly expensive the exhaust systems and the mufflers are today. And the reason it costs so much for us to develop is not just the parts and the testing, but it's the homologation. A lot of people are like, hey, couldn't you have done another exhaust? It's the same as the other Chiefs. Well, we are bound by regulations, and it's extremely hard today to make really cool, beautiful exhausts. And that is one of the tough things that you have to deal with today on a motorcycle. And you cannot forget, this is still an air-cooled motor. There's no oil cooler, no liquid. There is a pure, and it's actually the last of its kind right now. There's no other air-cooled big twin in the market today. So that we are still able to do this speaks volumes for our engineering team, I have to say. And it's really cool that we can protect this.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you, Ola.
Thank you.
Dank jullie ook, kijkers, voor dit interessant stukje designgeschiedenis. De prijzen van deze Chief Vintage, die zien jullie hier. En ik denk dat het nu tijd is for a beer. What do you think?
I am down for that.
Yeah? Alright, let's go.